church that we went to was a pastor who actually left the tab and started his own church, and he just was the first guy ever to like get me passionate about God. Normally I'd go to church and just go, but like he actually had me like listening to what he was saying and like just seeing how like he would just love to speak about God. And so when I was younger, I just like attached to him really strong, and I was always wanting to hang out with him, always wanting to be around him, and it was just really cool. And I grew up also going to like a Catholic school, so I was kind of like really confused, because you can imagine going to a Catholic school growing up and going to a Catholic service during the week and then going to a totally different service in the weekend. So I was totally like, I don't understand, like these are so different. And I didn't even understand that there was different denominations at that point. I just thought it was like a different style. And so as time went on, my pastor actually ended up getting really sick, and pretty much left the church because he had to, and that kind of put a really big damper on things for me. I kind of didn't have that like stronghold, like that guy who was like holding me in and, you know, really like just to attach to and look up to as like a father in Christ, so to speak. Not that my dad wasn't, but you know, it's sometimes different with like parents as opposed to like, you know, like another person in your life. But so I ended up trying to keep like God in my life, and I tried to go to Sunday service, and I started working at this place like Saturday night, so I just stopped going altogether, and I tried to go to youth groups and stuff, and I kind of always kept God in my life, but it wasn't doing what it needed to do, because I was pretty much a waste case. I hit high school, and I was actually kind of vain. Like when I first went, I came from a private school and went to this big public school, and my brother is a little bit more abrasive, I guess is the best word to use, than I am, and he was the only person I had to look up to. So I kind of went to high school trying to be like the guy, and I wouldn't, if someone wasn't like cool enough or something, like even if I liked them, I kind of like wouldn't really talk to them. And I was never mean to anybody. I just tried to like keep my distance, if that makes sense. Like, oh, who am I supposed to be seen with, and you know, where am I supposed to fit in? And halfway through the year, I just it did not feel like right. So I mean, I genuinely ended up coming back to like how I am and just being like loving and stuff, but it still kind of carried in me like an insecurity of like trying to feel accepted and trying to like be somebody. But I remember my sophomore year, I literally just, any day that I didn't have school, I was drunk. Like literally every day. Like, that was my goal. I was like, every day I don't have school, I'm just gonna get wasted. And sadly enough, I can say I achieved that goal. And so it wasn't just like I was someone who just partied in high school. I mean, I was the kid who people knew as like that guy. Like if I said I wasn't gonna drink that weekend, like literally people laughed in my face, like, oh, haha, like funny, like he's not gonna drink, like joke. And so it was pretty sad thinking back on it. At the time, I thought it was the time of my life, but it's sad to think that I really literally can't remember most of my weekends. So those days are kind of stolen from me, I suppose. And I'd always make stupid choices when I was drunk. I'd get in fights with people. I'd always have to like come back to school Monday with someone to apologize to because I said something or did something stupid or embarrassed myself one way or another. So that's pretty much how I went through high school, and it was just kind of like a roller coaster. But my junior year at homecoming, I had a really big falling out with a lot of my friends because of drinking, and literally just like all my friends like left me, and they had a justifiable reason, I guess, for that point in our lives, like where you think is friendship, I suppose. But I ended up really falling hard because I was someone who was always surrounded by people, always had a million things to do, and I literally went down to doing nothing. So like, I'm not someone who's good by myself. Like, I go crazy, and it got to the point where like I was so bad that my brother was crying for me. Like my mom would tell me like, your brother like cries and says like, why is this happening to him? Like he doesn't deserve this. And so it was like a really big hard point in my life. And my senior year, things kind of patched up. I went to college, and I didn't really care. Like, I don't know, I kind of had like a numbness. I didn't want to hang out with people. I didn't really want to deal with people. I had like 2 friends, one of them which became really dependent on me. Like literally the point where he controlled like whether or not I would hang out with other friends, or whether I was going to go to a party, whether I was going to talk to a girl. Like it was bad. Like literally just, I don't even, thinking at it, I don't know how someone had such a tight like leash on me. Like literally, like if there was a girl I wanted to talk to or a guy that I wanted to hang out with, if his justification was like, can you at least wait till I have like more friends, or till I have a girlfriend, or till I do this, because you have people you can go to. So like if I have someone in my life, like you have a life, but without you, like I have nothing. And pretty much convinced me like that I'd be being a bad friend by like leaving him. And I actually ended up having to like see therapy and stuff for it, because I just didn't know how to like deal with it. And one of the things that like really stuck with me that the therapist said was like, if someone's gonna like commit suicide, because that was something he would always throw at me, like, oh my god, I'd kill myself if you ever, you know what I mean? And here I am, literally like my life's being taken from me. Like literally, like it's just, you guys see me, anyone who knows me, I'm full of energy, I'm crazy, like I'm always talking to people. Amen. That was not me for those that was not me for those 2 years. It's like I tried to like expand out and talk to people, and it was always like you know, I had to worry about him getting too upset if I was talking to someone for too long. And somehow in my head, like, you know, I don't know if what happened that justified in my head that it was okay to let someone control me for so long. So I was really like really lost, and I think it was probably like 2 years where I honestly like didn't even really have much of God in my life in terms of like a youth group or in terms of like anything. But ironically too, like part of me thought that I should be in this kid's life because I'm so extrovert and he was so introvert. But I feel like I made the wrong choices. Like instead of like helping pull him up, I kind of just got fed into him and get pulled down. So so I ended up really kind of just really falling hard, and it just came to this point where finally I had to have my ends, and just I ended up just freaking out and just being like, I can't do this anymore, like this isn't even fair, because always like, I'm gonna have to see therapy, and I'm like, I am seeing therapy because of you, that doesn't make sense, like I understand. And it was like, it was horrible, and it was really such a bad experience in my life. So finally when things started like mending in that situation, I started finally like grabbing on to other friends to pull me away. Unfortunately, they weren't necessarily Christian friends, they were people who were having a party. So I ended up kind of just getting dragged right back into that. Started just going out every, like honestly, if I could, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it was just kind of the same thing as high school. I would just get so drunk that I would embarrass myself, make an idiot of myself, do something stupid, and I'm like, and honestly, I'd wake up and I'd be like feeling stupid, but he would go back the next weekend and do the same thing. Because believe it or not, I needed alcohol as a clutch to like feel free and to dance and to have fun and to do things. And it's crazy for me to think that now because it's not the case. But yeah, so like it was bad, and I actually got to a point where I became so dependent on alcohol that because I was so upset, and it was over like the stupidest thing. It was over like a relationship thing. I ended up drinking like every night. Like I had to have a drink. And I had like 10 bottles that I cleared out in like a month and a half because I just like drank constantly. And it got to the point when those were finished, I told myself, okay, as soon as they're done, like I'll stop drinking. But I found myself going out buying more, just kept drinking. To the point that like friends and family, like my immediate family obviously noticed because I lived at home, and more so my brother, because he'd be like, what's going on with you? And my one friend really noticed, and she was just super concerned, and she was just like, you need to stop this, like it's really bad. And I literally didn't know how to function without alcohol. Like I just drank it all the time. And so I finally like made the choice, and I kind of like calmed down on it and made true to my promise, so to speak. But I ended up hearing about Vintage, so I started going to Vintage and getting plugged in a little bit more. Unfortunately, though, I didn't get like plugged in well enough, like where I actually met people. I kind of just was going on a weekly basis. And if anyone knows, like when you're taking your walk with Christ, like walking alone is like pretty much impossible, because you need people to like hold you accountable, lift you up, and keep you in prayer, and do all this stuff. And so I was going there during the week and feeling great, but by the time the next week would come, I needed it so bad. And I'd even notice like the weeks where like I'd have to miss it or something, or like where they didn't have it like for a couple weeks. Honestly, I was just like literally like needed it. Like I just was like so hungry for it. I was like, and I would just feel so like depressed and like whatever. And I was always really good at keeping a smile on my face, no matter how sad I really was. So it wasn't like I was really different than I am now, but it was more of like now I'm actually like the way I seem, if that makes any sense. So I ended up starting to go, and one of my friends who I actually used to party with started seeing that I went, and he called me up and said like, hey, do you still go to Vintage? And I was like, yeah. Like, he's like, do you mind if I go? And I'm like, of course, that'd be awesome. Like, that'd be really cool. So he ended up going, and he just like made this instant choice, like I'm not gonna drink anymore, and this is how I feel, like God led me to do this, and like really just wanted to make the change. And when he told me that, I remember in my head I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to do this. I wish I had the strength. Like I need to be there. Like, why am I not there? Like I've been doing this for so long and just staying steady, not even growing. Here he is, and at first I was just kind of like comparative, like man, like this doesn't make any sense. Like why am I so like weak and blah blah. But I mean, I wanted to be there, so I stuck it through, and he got me plugged in more through other e-groups and stuff, and so it was really good. But I started growing more, and I started learning more, and I started wanting to like do better, and I slowly made some changes in my life, and in terms of just like how I was, and I mean it was good, but it wasn't anything major. And then probably like right as I really started like propelling, Satan just ripped me apart. One thing that I always had was like my purity until I was 24, and that was one thing that like my friends would always like, it's awesome, like even like you were secular, like you were able to do that, and I was like, yeah, like it was always something I was really proud of. But when I started growing in Christ, like it was the one thing that I kind of just didn't protect, because I was like, oh, I'm good at this, like I've been doing it for 24 years, I don't really need to focus on this, I need to focus on the years I need to grow in. So Satan, while I had my back turned to that, totally like yanked on it, and I ended up, that started a really bad struggle with that, because I ended up losing my virginity and everything, and honestly, it was just, I remember waking up the next day, but the problem was like, once it happened, it was hard to fall out of. So I mean, like I didn't do it right away, but then like another like month later, I happened to be in the wrong place, wrong time, and then it happened again, and then I just remember I was just like so down, because I was like, here I am growing so much, and like the one thing that I had so strong, and like I can never get that back. Like it's one thing that I kept so sacred like throughout my whole life, like, and I just didn't know what to do. I was super upset, and I was honestly so ashamed of telling my friend, who was like my accountability partner, the one who like started getting me to grow in the first place. And I remember like I just told him, and I was like relieved in a sense, because I was so afraid he was going to judge me, and honestly like that's not what a Christian should do. So I was really happy that he didn't do that. He was loving. I mean, he didn't say it was okay, but he didn't like tell me I was the worst person in the world either. And it really like he just figuratively like held my hand, like in terms of like, you know, pulling me back up and like getting me back to where I need to be. But it was really hard, because I just felt so like worthless. Like it was just something that I don't know how, if I can explain how I felt, but it was bad. So I just kind of moved forward, and I kept going along with it, and things were going good again. And then again, Satan came in and attacked me, and I gave in. And this time it was worse than before, because it was happening on a consistent basis. And I remember I was just, at that point, I didn't even tell anybody, because I was so like ashamed and so like, here I am, like people are like, oh, you're growing, you're doing so well, and I'm just like, yeah, and I'm just like, you know, if you only knew, and like I just felt so like I was fake, and I just felt like I had no one to go to, and it was pretty sad because I didn't even want to turn to my best friend, who was like super awesome in that situation. I was so afraid because I didn't want to see the disappointment. I didn't want to be like, it was horrible, and I think I kept it in probably until like even just like recently. But so at that point, I finally remember I was done, and I like ended up just crying out to God one night, and it was I still remember it was at Vintage, and they played I Need You, and I remember I just started like crying, and I was just like, I wanted God so bad, and I wanted Him to like, I was just like, I don't understand, like I'm trying, like and I just kept like getting ripped down and pulled, and that was, I just remember that song and Beautiful Things were like the two songs that just like, I just got lost in. I just was like, just remember I felt such a presence at that point in time, and I ended up, at that point on was like, I need to make a change, and like I need to make a real change, and I literally, I was working at a bar, so this kind of gives complete glory to God, but I told it was like, I'm done drinking, I'm done, and I literally just stopped. Like there was no like, I decided I was done drinking, and there was no temptation, no like, or there was temptation, but no like actual struggle at all. I mean, I worked at a bar, I'm a bartender, so obviously there's temptation on a daily. But it was awesome because I was literally sitting there and like, I had no urge, no want. And honestly, at that point, I was still self-medicating because I would, not during that point, prior to that, I mean, that was the harder part, was not the partying, but the actual self-medicating, because I worked at a bar, so it was easy for me to go home and, you know, charge myself a couple of drinks, take them with me, and just sit home when I got home and just drink and just think about, like, how horrible I was, or how I'm not where I need to be, and how I, you know, just all this stuff that, like, Satan would feed me, like, these lies that just would keep me stagnant and keep me exactly where I was. So I made that choice. I remember saying, I can get through the partying, but God, I'm going to totally need you to help me through this, like, self-medicating. Like, you're just going to need to, like, help me through these troubles, like, when I feel this way, and give me this joy, and give me this, like, happiness. And the funny thing is, like, when you actually seek it, and, like, when you really want it, He'll give it to you. Because the thing is, a lot of people say they want to give something up, and it's like, I can be like, oh, I really want to give up drinking, blah, blah, and I'll say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it, but I don't really mean it, so God can't really, like, change me if my heart's not willing to change. Like, because, you know, he's a gentleman. He's not just going to be like, all right, I'm going to change your whole free will and make you, like, who I want you to be. Like, that doesn't happen. You have to want it, and you have to, you know, be willing to make that sacrifice and that change. So I ended up, you know, just stopping, like I said, and it was awesome because I remember the first time I was going to see my friend's dad's band play, and I was always like the life, like moving around going crazy, but I always had to have those drinks to kind of kick me going. And I remember I was dancing, going nuts, and like they were just like, everyone was just like, wow, like it's crazy, and like and they kept making like comments like, you're not even drinking, like I'm like, yeah, like this is awesome. And I remember how free and like liberating I felt in the moment, and I was like, wow, God, you are so awesome, because like I'm just enjoying myself. I'm not using like alcohol as a crutch. I'm completely like, and it's a witness to Him. It's glory to Him. Like it was just super cool. And so I ended up around that same time, like when I really needed like somewhere to go. I had become friends with Melissa, and she invited me to I-61. And I remember I was really skeptical at first. I was like, oh, just so you know, like Bible study is not really my thing, but you know, I'll come check it out. Like, I'm not really like into this kind of thing. And I remember I came, and like right away I just like felt good about it, and I loved it. And I remember like, I think actually that night I went home and like made videos, and like everyone's page was in the Bible study. And I was like, I'm so happy I was here, and like thank you for inviting me, and like so it was like super funny. And I was like, I remember thinking in my head like, wow, things are looking up. And so through the Bible study, I started, you know, going and making a commitment to it, because I actually had work on Thursday nights, and I finally, my boss gave me one shift, like randomly was like, oh, like, can you take one shift off, because like we need to like start dispersing the shifts better through the bartenders. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, sweet, Thursday nights, like, so it worked out. It was like, to me it was just like all perfect timing, and I ended up going to Bible study. Joel and Sandy like really started just seeing me and were like, we see leadership in you, we want you to become a leader. Like, and I was like, what? Like, really? I mean, this is right after I had like some of my worst falls, some of my worst like tribulations. So I'm like, like I was really kind of skeptical. I mean, I could see why I was like, I guess they see it because I'm crazy and fun. Like maybe, you know, I'm like loving and like, okay, but I don't think they get like how weak I really am. And like, that's what I was telling myself, that I was weak. But like, I know now that I'm not, you know. But it was just kind of funny, like how at the time I was like, and I remember Joel had a conversation with me telling me like, oh yeah, like me and Sandy saw some like pastoral gifts in you. And I was like, oh really? And I'm like, that's kind of interesting, because like when I was younger, like everyone used to joke around and say I'm going to be a pastor, and like I kind of always wanted to, you know, I always had that in my heart, but kind of never really like thought I was, I don't know if I actually told him that I didn't think I was good enough, but that's kind of how I always felt, like I was so tainted and so destroyed that I couldn't become a pastor. So I went home and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, yeah, Dad, it was really cool, like blah blah. And he was like, you know, like when you were younger, like they were actually like prophesying over you that you were going to become a pastor. And I was like, what? I was like, I thought they were just saying it. No, they were like, legitimately like prophesying over you that you were going to become one. I'm like, that's crazy. And as I got to like talk to Joel more, you know, it came out more that like it was the same thing. Like he saw that I was going to be a pastor. I think he was just at first didn't want to like just throw it at me because like, hey, there's what I'm saying, you know what I mean? But and since then, like literally, I've gotten like confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. So I mean, like I totally know that's where I'm going. But it, the cool thing was like here I was as a child and being spoken into, being told I was going to be a pastor, and here I was as an adult being told the same thing and half-hearted believing it, but I, you know, wanted to believe it. But I was still so like far gone in my head, like, oh, like I have so much to go, like there's no way, like, oh man. But I was excited at the same time, if that makes any sense. And so I ended up, you know, kind of just going under Joel's wing and made a lot of decisions. You know, when they opened up their church, I knew that's where I was supposed to be planted, and I've been underneath Joel ever since. And it's just crazy because there's even a lot of ties, like the church that I grew up going to, that like the pastor that I loved, Joel actually was the youth pastor, which I didn't even know that until like meeting him down the road. So it's kind of weird how like God kind of brought me back to the same person. And I feel like had my pastor not getting sick and like stayed there and Joel would have been there, like I probably would have got underneath his wing anyways. But because I fell off, God still brought me back to where I was supposed to be. You know, so that was kind of like the really awesome thing. And so kind of like the moral of everything is like God has a plan for everybody. And this is obviously going to fall into their testimony as well. And like no matter how far off the deep end you think you are or you've gone, like God will always bring you back as long as like you're willing and wanting to, and you have your heart and you want to go there. And it's crazy because like thinking even from now to a year ago, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't think I would have realized that this is where I'd be right now. Like talking like this casually, like I'm a talker one-on-one and like whatever. When I'm up in front of people, I don't know who was here the first time I ever did this with Missy and Micah. I was way more like how you doing? Like, oh my gosh, like, and it's just cool to like be up here, and I'm like, man, God is awesome. Like, all glory to God. So that's kind of my testimony.
That's awesome. Okay, now I'm Melissa, just in case you forgot, and. So where did I start? Okay, so the testimony. I grew up in a partial Christian home. I say partial because my dad is not a Christian at all, but my mom, she is. And she loves the Lord, but yeah. And so I grew up in that kind of home, and growing up, like I was always forced to go to church, and I was always forced to do Bible studies, and I remember every single week was like a screaming match between my mom and I of like me not wanting to go to church because I didn't like it so much, and her just like dragging me along because I mean the church I grew up in, it was a very, like not going to church, but like it was just a very unhealthy place, and it was a church of like 30 people. There was no youth group, there was no kids my age. It was just a place that I did not want to be, and when you're forced to go there, you just completely hate it altogether. So I grew up just like absolutely hating God, hating church, hating Bible, hating everything about it. And I had a good childhood, but then when I got into high school, that was when life really began to suck. And My first, like, I don't know, ever since I got into high school, like, I feel like I got in and all of a sudden, like, I just got attacked in, like, every single way that you could possibly imagine. Like, growing up, I didn't have many friends. I was a very shy girl. And if you know me now, you might, like, may not believe that, I don't know, but I was extremely shy. I was shy around family members, and I didn't have a lot of friends. Like, I was a girl who didn't talk at all. And when I got into high school, like, I didn't have my niche or my clique in absolutely anything. I played tennis my entire life, and that was kind of like a security blanket for me, but it was still something that, like, I wanted to excel in, but yet it was still, like, kind of a barrier, like, in front of me, which now I realize it was God putting that in front of me. But I don't know, so in high school, like, I had just, I don't know, I had such, like, an amount of depression on me. I tried everything to find my niche, my clique, because, I don't know, like, in high school, like, I always felt so worthless, and I felt like I was a waste of space, and I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. Like, I had those friends or whatever that were around me, but, like, I never had a friend that I clicked with. I never found my niche, I never found my group, or I couldn't find anything, so I literally felt like a waste of space. And that lasted for, like, 9th grade, and then 10th grade, and in the middle of 10th grade, I tried leaving high school. Like, I tried homeschooling for a little bit because I hated it that much, and I just wanted to leave it altogether, and that didn't work out, so I ended up going back to school, and that was probably my lowest point of just, like, dealing with all the depression and just, like, those thoughts of, like, suicide and everything. And I didn't, like, when you're in the middle of something like that, you think that you're never going to make it out because you just feel so lost. But then in the 10th grade, like, I really had a miracle happen, and finally I met this one girl, and her name was Miranda. And throughout my whole 15 years of life, like, she was finally the best friend that, like, I've always wanted. And it was, like, a really, really awkward, it wasn't awkward, but, because, like, we clicked right off the bat, but it was a really, like, just unnatural friendship, because, like, Miranda, she was, like, a blonde, she was so bubbly and giddy and just outgoing, had so much fun, so much confidence. And I was just, like, this brunette who was so shy, hated life, hated the world, hated people. I didn't want anything to do with anything. But when I met her through playing tennis, and when I met her, we just clicked right off the bat. And I look back on it now, like, we're not friends anymore. Our friendship lasted for about 2 years, and we were, like, sisters. Like, we lived, like, 20 minutes away from each other. We went to separate schools, but yet we talked, like, every single day. We would have hour-long, like, texting conversations. Like, our longest phone conversation was 10 hours a night. Like, we would just talk and talk and talk. Like, we just clicked so well. And we're not, it was amazing. And, like, we're not friends anymore and everything, but I look back on it now and I realize that that was a seasonal friendship for me. And looking back on it now, I can see that she was placed in my life for a reason. And through our friendship, like, I didn't realize what was going on in the moment, but through our friendship, I kind of learned through her how you should be living life. And through her, like, I learned, like, I was watching her, like, having fun and being herself and just, like, loving life, and I learned that, you know what, like, life should be fun. Like, you should just be yourself. Like, who cares, like, what, like, people think about you, or, like, the world thinks about you. Like, just go out there and be yourself type of thing. And the coolest thing was, like, she's not even a Christian either, so it's amazing how God can just place anybody in your life to make a difference and impact your life for the greater good of it all. And so we were about friends for about 2 years, and then right when our friendship started to pull apart due to her getting a boyfriend and all that fun stuff, but our friendship started to pull apart. But right at that moment when we, like, started to fall apart and everything, was right at the moment when I started to pursue God more. Because like I said, in high school, like, I felt so worthless, and, like, when I don't, like, know, like, plans or something like that, like, just, like, having that empty feeling inside and not knowing, like, what could really fill it, and that scared the crap out of me. Like, it scared me to death. And I remember, like, in high school, I would just, like, lay out on the floor in my room just night after night, just crying. Like, not even to God. My prayers weren't even directed to God, but just crying. Because, like, I didn't know, like, where my life was headed. I just hated not feeling I had any purpose. And so my senior year of high school, like, I had friends, like, I had some friends, like, on my tennis team and everything who were Christian, so, like, I was always around, like, the Christian girls, and like, growing up in a Christian home, like, you're always aware of, like, God and everything. And I even had a point in my life where I wanted to be an atheist so badly, but I knew in my heart that it wasn't true. But I wanted it so bad at that point, because I just didn't want anything to do with it. But right at my senior year, at the beginning of my senior year of high school, I started to pursue God more, and I started to pray more and really just seek after Him. And then I remember just like one night, a couple days before my 17th birthday, I just had like a glory moment in my room, and like the glory of God like really hit me, and I had that revelation, like the light bulb went off finally after all these years, and I was just like, wait, God, like you are amazing. Like I was just like reading through my Bible a bit, and I was just like, wait, you're so big, you created the heavens and the earth, like what the heck? I never believed in you all these years. Like I remember that night perfectly. And so that's probably when I first like really got saved, because I had like my own revelation with that. And then my whole senior year of high school was just pursuing God like more and more. I was still a lukewarm Christian because I was still holding on to things that like I really like wanted in my life. And but when you first get saved, like you're on a Jesus high for about like a couple months, and then it slowly trickles down and everything. But the reason why it trickles down so much is because you're not letting Him in your heart like fully and completely. So like all throughout my senior year of high school, I had these dreams of like, I just had these plans of my own. I wanted to go to Niagara University. I wanted to play on their tennis team, and I just wanted to do that. Like I just wanted to play tennis for the rest of my life, basically. So I really wanted to do that, and I was holding on to those things so much, but holding on to those dreams and those passions that I had was pulling me more and more away from God. And there came a point in my senior year of high school, like I thought everything was going good. Like I thought I was like on an uphill ride, just like going up the mountain. I'm like, yeah, like life is good. Like I was playing tennis every day. My game was great. I sent my deposit for Niagara University. Like everything was going great. And then randomly, well, God's timing, but randomly I got appendicitis in 1 week, and then I also lost scholarship money in the same week. So getting appendicitis, like it put me out of tennis for a couple months because of like recovery from the surgery. And then losing scholarship money kind of put me on the sidelines for going to NU. So I'm just like, in the course of 1 week, this all happened, and literally like my dreams just kind of like fell away from me, and they just slipped out of my hands. I was so like mad and bitter and angry with God, and like I thought that those were God's plans for my life, but that's like what I just like thought. But deep down, it's like I never had peace about any of it. Like I felt so uneasy about going to NU, and I remember like my parents didn't want me to go to NU and all that stuff because I would have to take out loans, and the rest of my family members, like they're all teachers, and they're all big on like going to a good college, getting a good job, and making a lot of money. Like that's what they're all about. So I remember there would be screaming fights between my aunts and my cousins, between my mom and my dad, because they just didn't want it to happen, and like my parents didn't want it to happen, and it was probably God speaking through them anyways. But so I remember. So like in the course of that week, all that happened. Literally, like my plans for my life just like slipped out of my hand, and I got so mad and I got so bitter. I got so angry with God. And that entire summer, I just didn't have anything to do with Him. I didn't pick up my Bible once. I didn't pray to Him at all. I was just like, you know what, I'm done. Like whatever. I'm just gonna do my own thing. So the whole summer was just like doing my own thing, and still considering myself a Christian, but living the lukewarm life, and still trying like all the other things out, like partying and friends and all that stuff. Like nothing worked out for me at all. And finally, like what year? Okay, 2010. September 2010. I was starting at NTRIP, Niagara County Community College, and that was my plan B for college. And I didn't want to go there at all. Like it would have been my plan Z if I had one. Like I just didn't want to go there at all. And I remember I started there and everything, but yet even though like I was starting there, I felt so like I was back at that point where like I just didn't know what to do in my life. Like I didn't know what my purpose was, and like those reminding thoughts of like what I went through in high school, like what's my purpose, like why am I on this earth, like what am I meant to do in this world, all that, those started to come back and like kind of haunt me in a way, and for lack of a better word, but so like those started to come back and just like come over me, and because I was starting at this college I didn't want to go to, and like I had no plans for my life, and I was just completely confused, and I wanted to know like what I was supposed to do in this world. And so that's when I started to pray to God more. I'm just like, Lord, like I need answers. Like I don't know what's going on. I just need answers. And about like a month later, my mom, she came to me and she gave me a pamphlet about a fast that her and like a few other churches were doing. It was a corporate fast. And it was a 40-day fast, and she gave me the pamphlet, the booklet, and she was like, no, Missy, like I think you should do this. You should just look it up. check it out. And I read through it and all that stuff, and as I was reading through it, I was just like, okay, you know what, like if I don't go on this, then nothing's gonna happen. But if I do go on it, anything can happen. Like God can just do anything He wants. And I remember before starting that fast, I literally, like, I remember the words I said. I was just like, Lord, you know what? Do what you want. Just do what you want. I don't care. Just do what you want. And I guess that was code for, Lord, I give you my life. I give you my entire life, completely, like everything about me. So that fast was like the beginner point. Like, I don't know, like I've been saved since I was like 17, I guess, but I really don't consider myself a Christian for the past year and a half, because when I started that fast, God just met me in a way that I just, it's kind of hard to explain if you like haven't experienced it, but when you give your life completely over to God and there's like no roadblocks left within you, and your desires and your passions and your plans for your life are completely gone out of you 100%, that allows his Spirit to completely consume you and fulfill you. And when that happens, you just meet God on a whole new level. And you just feel His presence and you feel Him overwhelm you. And He literally becomes your addiction and your obsession. And for the past year and a half, when that happened, when I gave my life over to Christ, I gave up my plans, I gave up my desires. He completely fulfilled me and consumed me and overwhelmed me. And I met His love in such a greater way than I could ever imagine. And through Him, like through all that, through giving my dreams and my purpose and like what I wanted from life, by giving all that away, I found everything that I was looking for in Him. And when you have absolutely nothing, when you feel worthless and you feel like that, like you don't know where you belong and you just feel like you have nothing, when you meet Jesus, everything that you're looking for, you find in Him. So through Him, I found my purpose and I found my work. I found confidence. I found the reason why I'm living this walk today and this life today. And that happened about a year and a half ago. And Jesus is literally my addiction and my obsession. And I cannot live without His presence. And literally, like lukewarm Christianity, it's like, I don't know, like there's so many distractions in our Western culture that keep us from knowing God on a deeper level. And I brought this up a couple times, but there's this one book that I just read recently. It's called The Heavenly Man, and it's about the China persecuted church and everything like that. And but that's just a random thought. Like I encourage you to read it because it just opens your eyes on how much more like, I don't know, like he put it in a way where he was like talking about China and like how literally like China, they absolutely have nothing. So when they meet God, they find everything in Him, and they live for Him, like life or death situations every single day. But here in America, there's so many distractions that in a way, like we don't really need God. Like we have everything we need every single day. Like you need food, go to the supermarket. You can go to college. You can get a job. You can have money. You can do whatever you want. So there's so many distractions that are keeping us from knowing God. But God, He wants us to remove all those distractions and remove all of our desires and what we want for our life so that we can know all of Him. And the Bible talks about knowing His fullness. And when He says fullness, He literally means it. Like, it's not just a word that's just being thrown out there. Like, He can completely just fulfill you, and He can just consume all your time and all your energy, and He'll just be what you're living for and you're breathing for every single moment of every single day. So like that's how my life has been for the past year and a half, when I was just fully surrendered to Jesus. And through Him, like I found my direction in life. I found my purpose, and I literally believe, like my entire life, I literally believe that I have not found my niche or my clique in anything in this world. Nothing was working out for me, because I believe with my whole heart that I was created to live only for Jesus, and that there's no other purpose in this world. And yeah. And like we're all meant to be that way and everything, but I just have this feeling of just being like truly set apart, and just being saved for living for His glory and His presence, and just pursuing Him every single day. And when you have that revelation of how amazing He is, and just His love, His unconditional love, and how much He just really meets every single one of your needs, it's like nothing in this world matters anymore. It's like the only thing that you want to do is just pursue Him and get to know Him more and develop your intimate, deep relationship with Him. And I actually have a few Bible verses to get you guys involved if you guys want to look them up. But if someone wants to look up just Matthew 7:7, and then Jeremiah 29:11 through 13. So I don't know who wants to do that. Yeah. I'm almost. Matthew 7:7. Who's got it? Go.
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you.
Amen.
It
So
will be.
yes.
Maybe. It will. For everyone who asks receives.
She's taking over.
Seeks and he finds. And to him who knocks, it will be open. Everyone. That means everyone.
Exactly.
Preach it.
So I just want to throw out that Bible verse real quick because even though like throughout my life, even though like my cries like, at night and like my prayers like just like prayers of just saying it out, but even though like my cries every single night they weren't directed to God, like I was still like
Amen.
I don't know, like I was still like pursuing after him without even like knowing it. Because like when you're searching for truth in your life, you're searching for Jesus whether you realize it or not. Because he is the truth. He is the only truth in this entire world. So when you're searching for answers, you're searching for your purpose, you're searching for your worth, you are searching for Jesus Christ. And my entire life, I was always just crying, just like, what am I supposed to do? What's my worth? What's my purpose? What is going on? And just night after night, just absolutely just asking and seeking and knocking, and eventually I got my answers. And all those nights, like you feel like that they're never going to end, but it does come to an end, and you do see the light at the end of the
Joy
road.
comes in the morning.
Yeah. So like I just want to throw that out. Like if you guys are looking for answers or you just want to know something, just keep just pursuing after what you want to know and after Jesus, because he will give you the answers. Sometimes like he just wants to know how hungry you are, and like he wants to hear your cry for him, because like he has so much to offer you and so much to give you, and he's not going to give that to just anybody. He wants to give it to somebody who's really going to want to know his heart and know who he is. And it's completely worth it also, so he's worth it all.
It's the glory of God. It's the glory of God to conceal matter, and the glory of the kings to search it out.
Yeah, I just read that the other day. Yeah. Okay, and Jeremiah 29:11 through 13. Go down.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
Okay, thank you. We probably all heard of Jeremiah 29:11 like once or twice in our life, but I don't like I love that verse so much, but I don't like it when people leave out the other two verses when it says to seek after him with all of your heart.
Yep.
When you seek after Jesus with your entire heart, when you just really just put down all that your flesh wants, when you just put that all aside and you seek after him, he is going to meet you in such an incredible way. And you are going to have that revelation that he is the only thing that you need in this life. And he's the only thing that matters. And he is the only thing worth living for. And that's what we were created to do. So, I think that's it. Yeah. Alright, yeah.
To touch on what she was saying about... Oh my god, I'm directions. There's... she was saying like how people like leave out certain parts of verses and stuff. There's like I was trying to look for it, I couldn't find it, but anyone who went to Vintage should know the verse that I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure it was touched on in the readings, but something along the lines of like whatever you want, like basically God will give you. But it's like the verse right before that, it talks about giving your heart to Christ and becoming like him. And it's like people forget about that. So like, oh, anything I want, like as a Christian, I'm gonna get it. And it's like
Psalm 37, like give all the heart to God. But then it's like to those who walk righteously.
There's something that it's like it was in Chronicles or Corinthians.
Delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you desires from your heart.
I'd have to like read it.
Anything about about.
Oh my gosh.
We got scholars.
But anyway, my point being is the point being
you
is
know this stuff, Pastor Mindy.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm training. I'm really bad with like memorization.
No, you're good.
But so the thing is, I kind of want to touch on that because I feel like so many people when they hear these stories and they like think about Christianity and like whatever, they think like, oh man, become a Christian, you get everything you want, everything you desire, and everything's peachy keen. And I always kind of put in this perspective like, life isn't perfect. Like if life was perfect when we became Christian, like it wouldn't be much of a task. There wouldn't be really much to like, to choose for, I guess. Like if God was like, oh, you become a Christian, I give you everything you want. Like honestly, that's not really testing anyone's heart. Like you're just gonna be like, okay, sweet, I'm gonna take it. So it's not perfect, but the thing is, the most awesome thing is as your heart goes more and more to God and more like becomes more and more like Jesus, you lose those like wants and stuff of the world, the things that like normally you would be sitting there like, oh, I wish I could have this, or oh my gosh, or whether it's like if you're someone who always needs to have like the newest like toys, so to speak, whether it's like phones or gadgets or material things, like you kind of like as time goes on, you're just like, honestly, I don't even really care. Like, you know what I mean? Or it's like a relationship, like you're so like, oh, how come I, gave my life to God? Like, why don't I have someone? It's like, because you're missing the point. Like, you're not supposed to be chasing God so you can get someone. You're supposed to be chasing God to chase God for your heart. And like, when the time comes and you're ready, He'll bring you someone.
You
like,
better preach.
You know? So,
Let's get my chance first.
Sorry, I know.
It's all good.
I really wanted to touch on that because I feel like so many times people have this misconception. I feel like it's as your heart changes, these things, I'm sorry, I'm losing my thing. Like, things just, it's not that things get better, it's your perspective gets better, because when you realize that God's there and He's always taking care of you, you're always happy, and you don't get sad about the stupid things that normally you get sad about, like in the regular world.
I just think the biggest thing that God has shown me about being Christian and walking with Him is like, just like, seeker-friendly churches or whatever. Like when people preach the gospel, it's in such this fluffy way that Jesus didn't even preach it in. It's like, come to me and I'll give you everything. He does give us life abundantly, but it says this: enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Like, that's what Christianity is. It's picking up your cross, following Jesus, hating your life, leaving it behind. It's like trials, persecution. Jesus promised we have that. He promised we have like hardships and suffering, and it's like people don't want to talk about that in the church, but they're not truly walking with Christ. So
Yeah, just like you said, like you go after Him and then He gives everything you want.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Your desires become His desires become
so
your
of
desires.
course, like you go after Him, your heart changes, you want the things He wants. Of course He's going to give you those things.
Yeah.
And that's where people get it wrong. Like they're like, oh, like I'm gonna get all this, and it's like, no.
It's just scary. Like, that's the message of so much of the church. So we gotta change it.
And one thing, it's the love for Jesus. Sorry.
I don't care.
It's the love for Jesus that will bring the obedience. A lot of people, they just try to be obedient without the love, like the deep, intimate love relationship there. But when you love Jesus, and like He loves each and every one of us the same. So like the problem is not on His end of the equation. The problem is on our end of the equation. It's something that we need to change in our lives. If you're not in love with Jesus, like head over heels in love with Jesus, then it's something that you need to work on, and you need to find out why. And it's the love relationship, that deep, intimate love relationship, that will bring the obedience. And a lot of people, they get scared at like the fact of giving up their life and taking up their cross and following Him and hating their life and just hating it all together. Like, they hear that and they get scared. But when you love somebody, when you're head over heels in love with them, it doesn't matter what you have to give up. Not at all. Like, I don't know, like I've only been in this like but this great love relationship with Him for a year and a half. I had to sacrifice a lot, but it doesn't even matter to me what's going on. It doesn't even matter what I need to sacrifice, because He is the only thing that matters in my life. And you just want to make Him proud too when you are in so love with Him. Because you just want to make Him proud. You want to make Him happy.
Not because there's rules, but because you love Him.
Hey!
Hey, Micah. I'm not gonna say it.
Well, personally, I love testimonies in general because I call them faith builders. I mean, I love just hearing different people's testimonies because it kind of puts fire underneath me, because I hear all these people's testimonies where they come from a background where they don't even have a Christian home, Christian parents, and they're solid for God and they're loving God. I'm like, man, what's my excuse? Because for all you guys don't know, that's my mom, so I'll bring her up a few different times. But I was brought up in a household of a total of 6 boys, 1 girl, and so when she wasn't around, we took it out on our sister when she was being a brat. But anyways, I guess I'll start off with when we were younger. I know Joel, my brother, has talked about it a few times, but I grew up in general in a blessed home, good morals, good standards. My dad was a pastor, and we got in a car accident where my dad and my brother passed away. Now, of course, being a Christian, going to church, me having a lot of questions, God, why? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you're all loving. I hear about it every day in Sunday school, but if you're that loving, why would you take people away, especially a pastor? So, growing up, I was confused, I guess. I guess middle school, around that time in my life, I was more around my brothers, just getting involved in sports, passing through time. And people say, soccer mom, soccer mom. My mom literally was a soccer mom. She had that van. She drove us to soccer games left and right, one after another, going from one field to another, left and right. And so she did a lot on her own, by herself for a while. And as time went on, I guess my life, it was just going through the routine, going through the motions of life. I was a Christian, but I wasn't living it. Like Melissa talked about, it was lukewarm. I depended on sports. I knew of God, I believed in God, but I didn't really follow Him close. I relied on my own strength for getting through issues, so that was my downfall throughout most of my life, was depending on myself. And the general theme of a lot of people's testimonies I've noticed is the scripture and the verse and the whole story in the Bible about leaving the 99 sheep to go for that one. Because in all of our lives we can say that no matter how many times we've all run away, He's come back for us. And my life, He's always came back for me no matter how far I went away from Him. Whether I was rebelling or what, or in the wrong relationship, He always brought me back somehow. And I noticed in my life, He always brought me back by actually putting someone else in my life to speak into my life. And it brought me back towards Christ. When I hit high school, I was more involved with just sports and soccer. My brothers, since my dad wasn't around, I'm grateful for my stepdad, but when he wasn't around, I guess it was my brothers keeping me in line. And when they weren't around, I was the one that in high school getting in fights. I mean, I know none of you guys know me from high school except for Lauren, but we really weren't too close. But I was just one that didn't care. I had a hot head. I loved God, but I really wasn't living for Him, I guess, as much as I should have. I never really made a close commitment to Christ until I graduated. I dated 2 girls in high school. They weren't saved, brought the worst of me out. Then I ran into a family after I dated, after high school, where I dated this girl, and her parents really blessed my life, and they brought me back to Christ. And that's what I'm talking about by bringing people in my life. He takes our mistakes and He turns them into a blessing. And whether we're in a relationship or not, He uses everyone He can to bring us back. And I can say for myself that depending on my own strength, I kept falling and falling. And to this day, He keeps doing it, where if I'm making the wrong decision, He's bringing me back through other people. He keeps loving on me. And I guess I really started, like when they both said about vintage. I heard about vintage through my brothers, and I never really knew what it was. I was kind of shy, going to a place where there's 300, 400, 500 people, and I'm just by myself. So I actually started attending there with a girlfriend at the time. And when we broke up, I still continued to go, but I didn't know anyone. I was just a face in the crowd. I remember praying one day, and God was saying, listen, if you really want this, you need to step out of your comfort zone, and I'll do the rest for you, Micah. And I got to know more people at Vintage, guys, girls, got involved in E-Group, that they call it there. It's a group of solid guys that you talk to and you hang out with. And once again, He brought me right back to Him. And for the last 4 years, I've been single, just creating new friendships left and right with guys and girls. And I love my heart is to bring people into Vintage or in Bible study and just get them plugged in anywhere I can. And like they both said, I don't have a crazy story where like a lot of people were there in drugs and alcohol and they were just abusing, certain drugs. I have just more of a testimony of being brought up, being very confused with my walk with God, and then I guess over time God placing the right people in my life to get me back on track. Like I said, I was always that kid in high school known as, oh, he's a churchgoer, he likes God. And I look back, I'm like, man, I didn't, but that's what the world saw. And I mean, if they only knew me now, it's totally different. I'm totally different from how I was in high school. And I guess to this day I can say that there's plenty of scriptures, our thoughts are not God's thoughts, our ideas aren't His. And if we knew why people passed away in our life, we would be God. We don't understand everything that happens. I mean, everyone here can contest to a family member, loved one, or even a friend they know that's passed away. And you go through a time where maybe it's depression or mourning, but it's a time where you need to tie your bootstraps and really realize that God's in control no matter what. We don't understand everything. We won't until we get to heaven someday. And for myself, I guess that God has continued to bring people in my life that have been a father figure to me, and including my stepdad. He's been really, really good. And my mom has done. I mean, everyone calls her Mother Teresa, but I mean, she's always, trying to do anything she can. Take her, if anyone, you can't leave our house without her giving you clothes. I don't understand that. Or food.
I got shoes last week.
Shoes last week. You can't leave without her getting you something. Okay,
Get him over there.
So if you just meet her, she'll love on you. But anyways, she is really a trooper as far as getting through with life. I mean, without God, she really couldn't have made it through. And I can test with my own life that there is a God, because I honestly wouldn't be alive if there wasn't. There's been too many times in my life where it's been too close, and I'm scratching my head wondering how that didn't happen. And every time it's been God. And like I said with that story with the shepherd leaving the sheep, the 99 to get to that one. All of our lives we've wandered off, all of us, and especially myself. And he's always brought us back. And the theme tying in from my testimony to both of theirs, you guys can add more. It's just I guess going off the path and God bringing us back one way or another. I don't know what you guys wanted to add to that. If you had anything.
Mine was just that, like, God has a plan for all of you, and all of us, I guess, because that would include us too. And no matter like how far gone you think you are, because all three of us, like, we all had the opportunity to get to know God, like, one way or the other, and we all walked away. And whether it was, alcohol, sports, or isolation, kind of, you can always come back out of it when you give your heart to God, and He'll bring you right back to like where you need to be, as long as you're willing to give Him that part of your heart and you're willing to make the sacrifices, which don't even end up being sacrifices, because like I can totally testify to someone who was used to being like crazy, like, I don't know, my identity was completely known through the fact that I was like that guy, like, who was just a partier, could drink anyone at the table. Like, I don't even look back at that. I honestly, I can't even believe I was that guy. Like, I don't know. And it's like, at the time, it didn't make sense. I was like, this is gonna be like weird, like trying to like start a new life almost. But it's like, I made the choice, and God just completely like just took care of me, and it was awesome. It's been I don't regret one bit of going towards God. Like, every part of my life has just been so amazing. It's awesome. So no matter like if you guys are going through any struggles in your life, so whatever you think is going on, like, seriously, just don't let Satan just rip you apart like that. And if anyone wants to come talk to me, I'm sure they're open to it too. If your story seems to fit with one of us more than the other, like, definitely come to us, talk to us. Like, I don't understand, like, I'm struggling with this, like, how did you get over it? Or if you want to know more details about my life or her life, his life, I'm sure, I'm speaking for them too, but I'm sure they're more than willing to talk to you. So, yeah, sorry.
Okay, and I want to close out with the Bible verse, and it's from Psalm 139. It's from the Message Bible, so it's a lot more fun to read. So, okay, so it says, God, investigate my life, get all the facts firsthand. I'm an open book to you. Even from a distance, you know what I'm thinking. You know when I leave and when I get back. I'm never out of your sight. You know everything I'm going to say before I start the first sentence. I look behind me and you're there. Then up ahead and you're there too. Your reassuring presence coming and going. This is too much, too wonderful. I can't take it all in. Is there any place I can go to avoid your spirit, to be out of your sight? If I climb to the sky, you're there. If I go underground, you're there. If I flew on the morning's wings to the far western horizon, you find me there in a minute. You're already there waiting for me. Then I said to my... Oh, actually, I want to skip that part. Okay. Oh, yes, you shaped me from first inside and then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, high God, you're breathtaking. Body and soul, I am marvelously made. I worship in adoration, what a creation. You know me inside and out. You know my every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made, bit by bit, how I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you. The days of my life, all prepared, before I even lived one day. Your thoughts, how rare, how beautiful. God, I'll never comprehend them. I couldn't even begin to count them, any more than I could count the sand of the sea. Oh, let me rise in the morning and live always with you. And, I want to skip that too. Okay. Investigate my life, oh God. Find out everything about me. Cross-examine and test me. Get a clear picture of what I'm about. See for yourself whether I've done anything wrong, then guide me on the road to eternal life. And, just closing thoughts since I want to say something. That was just saying, like, God is, like, His presence is everywhere. You can't flee from Him, even if you try. Good luck. It's not going to happen. So, like, even if, like, you even if you're not aware of him, like he's always there and he's always watching you, and he's got his eyes just fixed upon you, waiting for you to just turn your look towards him, and he wants you to just come to him. Like he wants it so badly, and that type of love is just hard for us to comprehend. That's why we probably read these things and we don't even believe it half the time. But it's true, like he's just there and he's waiting for you, and he has a reason why you're alive, and he has a plan and a purpose for you. And just go after it and pursue it with your whole heart, and you won't regret it at all. Like he was saying, like you will not have any regrets, no matter what the sacrifice is, no matter what you have to do. His love is worth it all.
Yes.
So.
And I'll end in a prayer. Does anyone have any questions before I pray?
Or anything you want to say at all?
Okay, we'll listen to prayer. All right. Dear God, I just thank you for this night. I just thank you for this night of testimonies and fellowship, Lord, and laughter. And we just come before you right now, just number one, thank you for life in general. Every day that we get a chance to wake up and just breathe, Lord. Every breath that we take is under your control. Lord, you don't need us, Lord. We need you. And I just thank you for this time of fellowship, Lord, and with these testimonies, Lord. And no matter what we go through, you're always there. We're always going off track here and there, Lord, with our sinful nature, but you always bring us back. You've promised us so much in our life, Lord. I just pray that we're able to experience it all, Lord. I would hate to go through life and not experience all that you have for us, Lord. That would not be something that you would want us to do, Lord. Your will is for us to experience to the full. And I just think for everyone that's in here, Lord, I pray that if there's something on their heart, Lord, that was touched, Lord, I just pray that they go home and they seek you out, Lord. That they pray and you come through, Lord, for them. I just thank you for everyone here, Lord, and all that you're doing in them and through them on a daily basis, Lord. And I just pray that with tonight, Lord, we can just look back and realize with these faith builders, Lord, that they're not alone, that everyone around them, especially everyone in this room, is going through something. And I just pray that we continue to encourage each other and use each other, Lord. It is so key to utilize each other, Lord, in fellowship. And I just pray that we take full advantage of, Lord, of these friendships that we have in this room. And I thank you for everything tonight. And I would pray a blessed rest tonight in your name, amen.
That's what was in